John Beaudin, Rock History and Music. Good morning, everyone. I was just doing some research for my interview in about 3 hours, 4 hours with Bill Szymczyk, the producer of some of the big Eagles albums, On the Border, One of These Nights, Hotel California, The Long Run. He was there for Long Road Out of Eden as well, and the live album 1980. When this story came up in my one of my favorite sites, Ultimate Classic Rock, and the Eagles, this time Fleetwood Mac, a band that was going, remember Rumours and Hotel California, they were going back and forth with each other in the 70s as far as which album will top. But anyway, Fleetwood Mac set to release a Rumours live double LP in September. The good thing about this is, other than I think Gold Dust Woman, none of these live tracks, which by the way were recorded during the heyday when Fleetwood Mac was number one on the charts. They recorded this album when they were number one on the charts. Let me go through the story for you. I was just doing my interview, and I thought, isn't that interesting that this would come up now when I'm doing research on Bill Szymczyk, the Eagles producer. Anyway, the Rumours live will be released September 8th on Rhino Records. A lot of harder renditions of Fleetwood Mac songs, by the way. That's the cool thing about this, because of course when a band does something live, they either speed it up or raunch it up, right? So you're going to get harder renditions of that, and none of these live tracks that I've seen they've not been out there. They've just released a live rendition of Dreams. I do believe that's either on Spotify or most of the streaming. So that's the classic lineup of Fleetwood Mac. I mean, everyone argues about what was the classic lineup, Peter Green. But as far as sales are concerned, it's Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, Christine McVie, Stevie Nicks, and Lindsey Buckingham, doing songs basically from what was called the self-titled album, Fleetwood Mac. Some people call it the White Album. That's sacrilegious to some Beatles fans. But anyway, some people call that first album with Lindsey and Stevie the White Album. And most of the songs off this are from the White Album, and of course Rumours, because this was the Rumours tour. And as mentioned, Gold Dust Woman is the only one that has seen the light of day so far, because it was an extra from their deluxe edition that came out a couple of years ago. Anyway, let me give you the set list. This is the live track list for the LP version. Say You Love Me, of course, from the White Album, Monday Morning as well. Then Dreams, Oh Well, which goes way back to the early Fleetwood Mac. Rhiannon, Oh Daddy, Never Going Back Again, Landslide, Over My Head, Gold Dust Woman. I think the important thing about having an album like this, which I will definitely buy, because I, for one, like live versions when they're raunchier. And as I mentioned a while ago, most of the time they just are by default, right? It's a moment in time. I mean, they're number one when they recorded this, right? And it's like you're a fly on the wall to some extent. And maybe you might have been there for that concert, but looking forward to it. Let me get some of your comments, see if people are happy about this. A masterpiece of an album, Martin says. Good morning from Doug. Believing Rebel. Hi, I hope you're keeping cool as possible, and it's going to be a warm one today. Martin Gilman, a masterpiece album. Yes, I read that. Believe in Rebel. Interesting to hear of a live release still relevant after all these years. Very much so. And as I mentioned, it's interesting that I'm interviewing Bill Szymczyk in a few hours, and Rumours was the album that was going back and forth against Hotel California, right? Those were the two. I mean, it's amazing. Two of the biggest albums of all time were released. One in the latter part of 76 and one in 77. So funny you're doing this. Just listen to Lies. Great song. Thank you. Never Going Back Again, to me, is still one of my all-time favorite songs from Rumours. It stays with me. I listen to it all the time. The guitar stuff is unbelievable. I was just talking to a guitarist the other day about Big Love with Lindsey Buckingham, which came out later, and how you have to be pretty good at guitar to do that. Very happy to hear this, John. Calm Voice. One of my go-to albums while in college. There you go. I was 17 years old when I bought Rumours. And I mean, when you're 17 years old, you're not at the beginning of your musical. Yes, please like our video. Thank you for saying that. When you're 17, you're not green anymore. You're starting to define your musical taste. At 17, not everyone does, but most of my friends, they got to that point where they were listening to what they wanted to listen to at 17. They weren't just listening to what their friends were telling them to listen to, or their brothers and sisters, or the radio. You started realizing, oh no, even though this is number one, I kind of like this. So at 17, by the time Rumours came out, I was well defined in what I wanted to hear, and I was one of those guys that had no problem listening to the Captain and Tennille, ABBA, along with Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple, or whatever band that might be. And I think by 17, a lot of you were probably like that. If you're around, I'm 63, so that was one of my go-to albums, which still sounds really, really good today. So just to reiterate, the title basically says it all. It's going to be released on Rhino. It's coming out in September. Oh, well, that's the thing about, we just bought one of these things. Stream Deck. Over here. Just bought a Stream Deck, which will make our live feed a little bit easier. I just got to figure out how to do it. So this is, just to reiterate, this is basically the tour that was celebrating, Rumours. Sorry, I just woke up. I'm still a little fuzzy. Say You Love Me from the White Album, from the self-titled album, I'll call it. Monday Morning. Then there's Dreams. Oh Well, from the early part, the early incarnation of Fleetwood Mac. Rhiannon's on the album. Oh Daddy, Never Going Back Again. Thank God that's on there. Landslide, Over My Head, Goldust Woman. The LP version has You Make Love and Fun, I'm So Afraid, Go Your Own Way, World Turning, Blue Letter, The Chain, Secondhand News, and Songbird. I've heard rumors there's going to be a deluxe edition too, but it's not on here. So a deluxe edition which includes everything. So I hope that's the case, which, in this case, people might want to buy both versions. It'll be on streaming platforms as well, so you'll easily, by default, get that. So there you go. Read some of your comments. Great guitar, bass, drums, all very underrated. That's from Al's G. Calm Voice. One of my go-to albums, thank you. Really, standing the test of time is a big thing. I'm sure you go on streaming platforms sometimes and you'll listen to something that you haven't heard in a while. Maybe you don't have it anymore. That's why you have a streaming platform. It's a lot easier with streaming anyway. Quality's not as good, but it's a lot easier. So you go in and you listen to an album, you go, you know what, that doesn't sound quite as good as I remember it. That happens to everybody. Fleetwood Mac and Rumours is one of those albums that consistently, if you look at streaming, let's look at Fleetwood Mac for a second. Let me look it up on Spotify, for instance. Let's just see. Just curious. Yeah, Fleetwood Mac. Let's see, because with streaming, the thing I like about streaming is you can go on there and figure out, okay, let's see what songs have stood the test of time. People listen to what they want to listen to on a streaming software. Out of the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs are from Rumours. The number one song and that's at a billion listens, is Dreams. That's at 1,286,000,000. Followed by The Chain from Rumours, 905 million. Everywhere. No, not everywhere. Go Your Own Way is number 3. You ever notice with streaming platforms sometimes they're not in order as far as, so Go Your Own Way is number 3 at 8 million, followed by, let me make sure I got this right, Everywhere from Tango at 705. Landslide from their first album with Lindsay and Stevie at 506 million. That's followed by Little Lies from Tango. There you go. Some Christine McVie songs there. Don't Stop. And Never Going Back Again, and then Gypsy. Pretty amazing when you look at, okay, is it really still Is Rumours still the album that people want to listen to after all these years with a whole bunch of new people listening, right? A whole new generation of people. They'll might hear it on a soundtrack. They might hear it in the mall. And they might ask their phone, who sings this song if you're 17 years old now? Because through osmosis, you would have heard it. And you go, I do this all the time when I'm shopping. I'll always say, hey, who sings this song? Most of the time it's a new song because the old stuff I usually know. So that says something. The fact that, yes, it's still relevant, it's still big. In September, you'll get a chance to listen to it. Anyway, there's my report on it. I've got to go back because doing research on interviewing the Eagles' major producer after Glenn Johns, Bill Szymczyk, it's just overwhelming. So I'm going to put up the first part of Bill's interview today. He asked me how long I need. I said I need at least an hour. And if I can keep him longer, I will. But I want to be respectful to the man. So that's coming up later today. Speaking of course, Rumours, right? Speaking of Rumours, we've got Bill Szymczyk of Hotel California on the border one of these nights, the live album, The Long Run, and he was there for parts of Long Road Out of Eden. We'll have that presented to you a little later on. Let me see if I can find oh, there you go. John Beaudin, Rocky Stream Music. If you're just getting this now, go to the beginning, and we're going to talk about the release dates and what's on these albums. The picture you're seeing, of course, is a picture we've seen so many times of Fleetwood Mac with the classic lineup. Might not be your favorite lineup, but it's known as the classic lineup. Let me see if I've got the Salem 786. Hey, man, nice to have you on here. In my opinion, Fleetwood Mac is the most underrated band over the past 50 years. Christine McVie was the absolute jewel of the band. Well, again, just before we leave, if you're going to look at outside of Rumours, Everywhere is one of their biggest songs. Little Lies is one of their biggest songs. You know, thanks, Christine. Love you, girl. Anyway, John Beaudin, Rocky Stream Music. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to support us. There are links in the description. I'll be back later on this afternoon with Bill Szymczyk of Eagles fame. I can't wait to talk to him. Take care.